Good evening, everyone. My name is Kareem. Thank you all for being here. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I was born in Baghdad, Iraq in the year 2000, and that's where I spent the first 6 years of my life. I look back on this time fondly. I remember being with family, doting aunts, uncles, an army of cousins. However, this time is, in retrospect, tinged with a sense of sadness, knowing now how the impending war would alter my life. My parents were both physicians in Iraq, and we lived a pretty simple life. My first sense of war was when my parents started to take in neighbors and community members as patients in our home, because war was making it unsafe to go to hospitals. I remember being little and bringing water, food, trays of supplies to my parents at this time. A few years later, in 2006, we were forced to immigrate out of the country. You see, my father is Sunni and my mother is Shia, and so inevitably, no matter where we moved, one of them was targeted. Um, we moved to Jordan in 2006, and after being briefly separated for a time, we came to the US in 2008, and we were in Colorado. After coming to the US, my parents were no longer able to practice as physicians, and so they worked as phlebotomists for most of my time growing up here. In the meantime, my dad retook his board exams, eventually recompleted his residency training, and did eventually re-earn his medical license. Watching him do this inspired my own dreams of becoming a physician one day. I saw medicine as a superpower. It was how my parents were able to contribute and protect their communities back home in Iraq, and also give back to their communities here in Aurora. As I was growing up, I found belonging in the diverse high schools that I attended, and I valued the friendships and mentorships that I gained along the way. However, I often felt different from my peers. I was aware of the part of my childhood that was shaped by displacement and war. I had big dreams still to become a physician one day and serve my communities here and abroad, but this path felt out of reach. My perspective on my childhood actually started to shift as I entered college, and as programs like Greenhouse saw the strength in my story. I entered college as a pre-med at CU Boulder, along with thousands of others just like me. And statistically, only 16.5% of us would continue to be pre-med by our senior year. And most notably, this disadvantaged lower income and first generation students who didn't have access to resources to know how to succeed in college in their path towards their dreams. Being from a low income background myself, there was a huge chance for me to be weeded out of my dream. And Greenhouse was a huge part of how I was able to overcome this. From my freshman year, I had access to mentors through the networking directory who were able to guide me to plan out my coursework, extracurriculars, and be well prepared to apply for medical schools one day. I also relied greatly on their financial support in terms of scholarships and flex funding, which I utilized to take classes, purchase an iPad, and eventually purchase an MCAT. Now, for those of you lucky enough not to know what the MCAT is, the MCAT is an 8-hour-long, grueling exam, and it's how medical schools assess a student's academic capability. Importantly, your MCAT score is mostly correlated with just the price and the quality of how you get your training. And so people who are able to pay more for classes, take time off work, those are the people who succeed. Like I said, Greenhouse paid for me to take an MCAT course. So, through doing this, Greenhouse leveled the playing field for me. And I'm proud to say that in 2022, I graduated college and earned my degree in neuroscience from CU Boulder. Thank you. Thank you. After I graduated, I learned that there was an opportunity to stay involved with Greenhouse through the Young Leaders Program. I actually was part of the first class that had this as an opportunity for us. And so I instantly embraced the opportunity to stay involved, and I decided to continue with them. I had seen their multifaceted approach work so well for me in college, and I knew that I could rely on their support as I navigated the workforce as a young woman of color. One of the most impactful pillars of the Young Leaders Program for B has been the coach pairings. My first coach was Dr. Zacharias. I don't know if anyone in the room knows him, but he's pretty involved. Yes. Dr. Zacharias helped me decide to apply to medical school a year earlier than I planned. He looked at my application and he believed that I could be a strong applicant. Another coach I had was Melissa Hoyer, who prepared me for my CU School of Medicine interview. I had applied to very few schools, which was a mistake, and so there was a lot of pressure for me to do well in this one interview. Without her help, I likely would not have been able to show up authentically for this interview. After my interview, she helped me prepare for both acceptance and potentially rejection from medical school, which proved to be a pretty difficult task. And she helped me with other things like financial budgeting lessons and also communication skills for my relationship. Melissa, I know you're here tonight, so thank you so much. I honestly don't believe I would have been accepted into medical school had it not been for your help. Everyone give it up for Melissa. My most recent coach was Dr. Damien, who I met at the start of medical school. I experienced the loss of a dear friend this past semester, and I actually received this news while in a coaching session with Dr. Damien. We sat together for the rest of that hour, and later he guided me through navigating loss while meeting the rest of my responsibilities. This is a skill which I'm sure to utilize many times throughout the rest of my career. For the last few years, I've been volunteering as a leader of a free specialty care clinic called Dawn Ophthalmology. We serve the uninsured community in Aurora who have no other access to care. If you don't know, eye conditions are difficult to treat. Commonly, they require equipment and procedures. Due to the lack of resources and institutional restrictions, we lacked basic equipment and we were not able to perform these simple yet vision-saving operations. Most of our patients came from immigrant backgrounds, and I recalled a lot of my own early experiences in the US when speaking with them about their lives. And so we found ourselves at Dawn Ophthalmology unable to provide much to our patients other than compassion. This was disheartening, to say the least, watching patients lose their eyesight, knowing that a simple cure was in fact available. Not only that, but it was contradictory to the values that we held as students and physicians committed to helping people. This led to significant burnout amongst our volunteers. Thankfully, Greenhouse stepped in to help. The Young Leaders program provided me with $10,000 of funding to put towards the clinic. We used this to purchase an auto refractor and establish a glasses fund for our patients. And while $10,000 isn't quite enough to provide surgery, injections, and lasers to all our patients who need them, seeing that there were people in our community who were invested in our mission and our patients invigorated the group. We since have gained more volunteers. The funding has had a domino effect and encouraged us to establish more relationships with local organizations and private practices, and to continue advocating for our patients. This is what they mean by the ripple effect of Greenhouse. Today, I'm in medical school. And frankly, it's not as glamorous as it seems. There's this thing they tell you when you're entering medical school. They compare it to drinking out of a fire hose as far as the information and learning goes. And I would say after weekends, literally weekends, spent inside of anatomy cadaver labs, which is where I will be tomorrow and Sunday, this is an accurate description. So, all that to say, these last few months have been incredibly stressful. However, I'm grateful to be here, and I'm grateful to be here today giving you this speech. Not only because it's always so amazing to see this incredible community, but because it has given me a chance to reflect a little bit and see just how far I've come, from surviving war, being an immigrant, learning English, to getting into medical school and finding out that I passed my test from this morning. Thank you. Thank you. All that to say, I'm grateful to be where I am today, well on my way to becoming a doctor and already giving back to my amazing community. It's a fact that I could not have gotten to be where I am today were it not for the countless people who have poured into me, many of whom have been through Greenhouse Scholars. When I think of Greenhouse, I don't think about an organization. I think about every individual who has touched my life through this community. I think about my mentors, Chris and Dr. Damien, my coaches, Melissa, Lauren, and Dr. Zacharias, my peers and friends, and of course, the relentless staff at Greenhouse who make all of this possible. And so I implore you to become a part of this incredible community, working to make the world a better place and make a difference in all of our lives. Thank you so much.